Hey, before we dive in, a quick heads up. This series is called Validating the BPD Life, and that's exactly what it's here to do. Validate the experience of living with borderline personality disorder, hopefully making you feel a little less alone. That said, if you don't have BPD, there's still value here, especially if you've loved or currently love someone who does. But fair warning, we'll be talking about some heavy stuff. Self-harm, self-destructive behavior, hospitalizations, and a lot of emotional pain. You might feel grief, guilt, anger, rage, shame, or confusion while watching. And if you do, that makes sense. Don't judge yourself for feeling anything. Don't shame yourself for being triggered. Emotions show up for a reason, even if you don't know that reason right away. If it helps, try saying, "It makes sense I'd feel this way after everything I've been through." And if you've ever been hospitalized or felt like you were losing your mind, I wrote a book about my own experience at a psych ward, and you can grab it at the link right here. Or here. To be honest, I'm not sure where I'm going to put it, so I'm just going to say grab it. It supports the work I do and might help you feel a little less lonely on this journey. All right, without further delay and nothing more to say, buckle up, Buttercup. It is time to walk the middle path towards common humanity and a wise mind. All right, let's talk about what it feels like to experience emotional numbness and engage in sexual recklessness. Look, what do you get when you combine indoctrination into Western evangelical, conservative, 90s through the 2000s Christianity and an extreme fear of hell with an insanely high sex drive, an obsession with 80s and 90s romance movies, rom-coms, deep-seated identity disturbances, sexual trauma, and copious amounts of porn before it was even remotely regulated by search engines? Well, me, motherfucker! You get me! Well, to be clear, you get me for the majority of my life up until the accurate diagnosis of BPD and the life-saving intervention of DBT. You see, sex was this unparalleled, exciting, taboo object, while at the same time being the most potent tool to quell the internal suffering I continuously experienced in my childhood all through my early adulthood. It was as if the feeling of shame became a sentient contractor who builds escape rooms. The only catch is the room was a prison and there was no escape. And I truly believed I deserved to never escape from it. When you're told thinking about sex could send you to hell if you don't repent, imagine what watching grown-ups move around like naked mole rats playing the most intense game of Twister ever could do to a young mind who believes this. Actually, don't imagine. I'll just tell you, it was awful. It is therefore not surprising that for the majority of my life, sex was used to escape from the painful realities of the present, while also being my biggest wound, while also being my biggest source of shame. And when I couldn't access sex, when I couldn't access anything, or even when I could, shit, another rather unhelpful character would show up. Numbness. It was either feel everything all at once and be so overwhelmed I reached for solace in sex and other drugs, or shut down and feel absolutely nothing until I could reach for those things again. Sounds like a jolly good time, right? Wrong. 'Twas not. And I imagine you have some experience with this too. So let's get into it, starting with numbness. I used to think numbness meant I was broken, or worse, that I was spiritually lost. Back when I still clung to the beliefs I was raised with, feeling nothing wasn't just uncomfortable, it was terrifying. I believed it meant I was disconnected from God, that the Holy Spirit had left me, that I might be on a path to hell without realizing it, that my heart had hardened. Well, something was hard, though. Shame can be a real boner killer. Evangelicalism taught me that closeness to God would feel a certain way. Warmth, joy, conviction, awe. So when I felt blank, flat, emotionally muted, I didn't see it as exhaustion or nervous system overload. I saw it as literal, observable evidence that I was no longer chosen, that I was spiritually dead, that I had somehow blasphemed the Holy Spirit, which, according to good old JC, that's Jesus Christ for those of you who have been living under a rock for the last 2,000 years, is the unforgivable sin, something which one cannot recover from in this life nor the next. Now, I see that for what it was. Fear wrapped in religious language, phobia planting, and indoctrination. A trauma response. Numbness wasn't some divine punishment, it was my brain and body protecting me. After years of living in extremes, feeling too much, too fast, too deeply, it makes sense that sometimes I'd feel nothing at all. My system just couldn't keep up. These days, the numbness still shows up now and then, and it doesn't scare me like it used to. I've done the work to unlearn the idea that emotional silence equals moral or spiritual failure. I know now that numbness is just information, usually a sign that I'm over capacity, or that I've been pushing myself too hard for too long. When it happens, I check in with myself. I ask, what have I been avoiding? I listen to my body. Sometimes I just need to rest. Sometimes I need to cry or write or be around someone who doesn't need anything from me. Sometimes I need to watch a Pixar movie or Hannibal. Sometimes I need to listen to Hamilton.
Hamilton is old news, Stefan. Lame.
You're wrong. It will forever be a life-changing musical experience, though it is woefully historically inaccurate. And if you're like, why say that, Stefan? Not necessary. Because I'd rather be divisive than indecisive. If you know, you know. I don't chase chaos anymore just to feel alive. I've learned how to sit with stillness and not fear it, not judge it, not try to fill it. That shift took years and a shit ton of painful work, punctuated by many failures and continual self-hatred, morphing into self-examination, morphing into self-validation and compassion. Honestly though, it's one of the clearest signs of healing I've ever known. Now, a lot of these behaviors spring up from chronic invalidation, which of course can lead to reckless and impulsive seeking of lost validation. There was a time when I didn't know who I was unless someone else reflected it back to me. I shaped myself to fit whatever version of good people needed me to be. For years, I thought the only way I could be worthy was by being the best. The best Christian boy, the best Christian man, always striving to meet expectations, following the rules, doing everything right. I imagine if any of my guy friends from that time are watching this, there's a good chance, and this would be fair, that boy oh boy was I exhausting to be around. In my defense though, I was exhausting myself too. Still, sorry for ruining pizza and trying to use the slices as metaphors for why abstinence makes you a more moral person. I believed that if I could just be perfect enough, if I could embody the ideal of a devoted, pure, moral person, then maybe I'd be loved. Maybe I'd finally belong. In church, it wasn't just about doing right by God. It was about being seen as the golden child, the one who nailed every moral lesson, the one others would look up to. But in that pursuit, I lost myself. I was outsourcing my self-worth, molding myself into someone I thought others needed me to be. And in the process, I stopped knowing who I was without their approval. I wasn't really living for me. I was living to be seen, to be validated, to avoid the unbearable feeling that if I wasn't perfect, I might be abandoned by people, by God, by my own sense of self. Now, after therapy, DBT, and years of unlearning that need for external validation, I've started to build something more stable, a self that isn't constantly dependent on the judgment of others. I still care what people think. That's human. And it doesn't control me anymore. I can remind myself, I know who I am. I know what I value. That old urge to perform, to show up as whatever version of good others need me to be, it's still there sometimes, especially when I'm feeling tired or insecure. I feel the pull to be endlessly agreeable, to share just a little too much, just to feel connected. Now, I can catch it. I recognize it as a sign that I need to slow down, to take a breath, and to center myself. And when I can do that, I feel a freedom I didn't even know was possible. It's a freedom to simply be, to not have to earn my worth, to not have to prove I'm enough. That, I think, is one of the greatest gifts of healing. If I'm wrong though, and that unhealthy, dysregulated, evangelical little boy was correct, I mean, I'm going to hell. Low stakes! What's wild is how badly I wanted to feel sexually free, not inhibited by the shame and intense phobia around sex. And just like any other urge, if it's not explored in a dialectical and compassionate manner, it's like pushing the beach ball underwater. The harder you push, the more intense the explosion out of the water, which, of course, led to serious sexual impulsivity. Before I knew I had BPD, I just thought I was a monster. I'd go from intense longing to total disgust, from needing to feel desired to punishing myself for it. Growing up evangelical, I was taught that sex outside of a narrow, sacred context wasn't just unhealthy, it was sinful, a moral failure, damnable. Sluts do not have a very good PR team in the evangelical world. Shout out to sluts, a term I mean with endearing admiration, not judgment. So every time I sought it out impulsively, especially during moments of emotional chaos, I felt like I was betraying something holy. But the truth was, I wasn't chasing sex. I was chasing a healing balm, something to ease the burn wounds of my own internal torture chamber. I was searching for proof that I could feel pleasure without shame. When I felt unwanted, abandoned, or invisible, sex felt like a quick way to claw back a sense of worth. And for a moment, it worked. I'd feel powerful, chosen, and seen. Then came the inevitable crash. The The shame would hit so hard it felt like my soul was tearing open. I'd split into pieces, convinced I was irredeemable. And that shame was not passive. It turned into self-harm, sometimes emotional, sometimes physical, and sometimes relational. I'd sabotage the very people I wanted to be close to, test their love, push them away, then fawn over them if they chose not to. Or I'd hurt myself and keep it secret, thinking that God could see me punishing myself and that maybe that could be enough to return to a place of being saved. That plus lots of prayer. Lots of prayer. Damn, I prayed a lot. Romantic relationships became battlefields. My desire for intimacy was real, and so was my fear of being truly known. When my impulsive choices created harm, and they did, I didn't have the skills or diagnosis to understand what was happening. So I blamed myself, hated myself, and then acted out again to escape the pain. The cycle was exhausting, and in some cases, deeply harmful to people I cared about, and deeply harmful to myself. Getting diagnosed with BPD gave language to what felt like pure chaos. It helped me realize that I wasn't evil, I was dysregulated. I was trying to survive with a nervous system that mistook abandonment for death. That reframe changed everything. Now I can pause and ask, is this coming from connection or from fear? From curiosity or from panic? I'm not perfect. I still carry echoes of those old patterns. Thankfully, I've built enough awareness, enough self-compassion to interrupt the spiral before it drags me under. I'm learning to hold both truths. I've caused harm and I am healing. I've made choices that weren't aligned with my values and I'm still worthy of love. That's the dialectic I try to live inside now. Not purity or punishment, responsibility and repair. And when desire rises now, I no longer assume it's dangerous. Sometimes it's just a part of being human. I don't need to fear it or chase it or numb it. I can be curious and I can be kind. And trust me, if me and this brain can get to this place I'm in now, chances are there's plenty of hope still left at the bottom of your Pandora's box too. Now, please allow me to pause for a second to say thank you. What I've shared is honest and heartbreaking, and sometimes really hard to say out loud. It's also something I truly believed I was alone in, that nobody could understand, and that I would always be alone in it. And if you're here, listening or watching this, I need you to know that I'm not just talking about behaviors. I'm mapping out a story of shame, desire, faith, trauma, and survival. If now you're like, cool, Stefan, but like, what can I do? What do I do? Show me the skills. Here you go. 2 skills from dialectical behavior therapy, wise mind, and emotion validation. These tools did not erase my pain, and they gave me a way to hold it, and eventually, to move through it. Let's start with wise mind. In DBT, wise mind is that intersection where logic and emotion meet, not by fighting each other, by working together. For me, it sounds like this. Yes, I feel the urge to be touched because I'm lonely and scared, and I can pause to consider whether that action serves the life I want to build. That's not me repressing my feelings, that's me integrating them. In the past, I lived in emotion mind, terrified by religion, numb to everything but the chaos, chasing sex not for pleasure, but for proof that I mattered. I was searching for something fast, something hot, something that gave me a moment of relief before the inevitable crash. Now, when I feel that old familiar rush, I can catch it, I can name it, I can slow it down. That's wise mind. It's the part of me that doesn't shame the emotion. Instead, it gets curious. What is this trying to tell me? What do I actually need right now? And let me be clear, this isn't about pretending I was never in pain. It's about understanding that what looked like chaos was actually my nervous system trying to protect me. I wasn't broken. I wasn't a monster. I was human, looking for safety in the only ways I knew how. Wise mind taught me to say, my shame isn't proof that I'm bad. It's proof that I was taught to feel bad about being human. My desire isn't evil. It's a messenger. I can feel what I feel and still choose how I respond. The second tool is emotion validation, and this changed a lot for me. Emotion validation says your emotions make sense, not because they're right or because they're good, because they are understandable, given what you've been through. Here's what that looked like in my own healing. Numbness would say my system just couldn't keep up. The validation of that is, of course I shut down. After years of fear, pressure, and spiritual panic, and never feeling safe, numbness was safety. My body was protecting me. For sexual impulsivity, I wasn't chasing sex, I was chasing proof that I mattered. Validating that means that wasn't sin, that was survival. I was looking for a mirror to show me I was still real, still wanted, still here. Relational chaos would say I sabotaged the very people I wanted to be close to. Emotional validation says that makes painful sense when closeness has always meant judgment, abandonment, or conditions. I didn't know how to feel safe in love. Validation doesn't mean my behaviors were always okay. It means before I could change anything, I had to understand it. Because without that understanding, all I was doing was finding new ways to punish myself. And here's the dialectical magic. When I validate my emotions and respond from wise mind, that's when the real transformation can happen. That's when the numbness starts to lift. That's when I stop reacting on autopilot and start choosing. That's when I can look back at the version of me that hurt and say, you know, I get why I did those things. I hold space for the pain I was in, and I'm learning how to do things differently now. That's not just healing. That's power. If you relate to any of this, if your story feels even a little like mine, I want you to know some things. You're not broken. You're not beyond repair. You're not a burden. You are learning. You are rewiring. You are walking the map out of pain and into a life worth living. And damn it, I'm proud of you. So keep being willing to try, to heal, to learn, to show up. And I'll see you on the next one. Stay kind to yourself. Stay skillful.